I fell in love too. I saw the red flags, I ignored them, and I see why.
It's completely ridiculous.
The world couldn't believe its eyes when Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively hit It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni with a shocking lawsuit, accusing him of sexual assault during filming. But just days after these bombshell accusations made waves, new footage emerged showing what seems like a full-blown argument between the once picture-perfect couple. Now, the cracks in their relationship are being laid bare for the whole world to see. So, what's really going down in Camp Reynolds Lively? And could this be the start of an even bigger fallout? The social media frenzy. Let's dive into the hot tea and spill all the details about what's really happening with Hollywood's golden couple and why social media can't get enough of this wild story. Grab your popcorn, folks, because this tea is piping hot and ready to be served. First things first, let's address the elephant in the room. Is there actual footage of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds having a physical confrontation? What we're seeing is the perfect storm, combining their ongoing legal battle with Justin Baldoni, their history of social media trolling, and a whole bunch of receipts about Blake's allegedly controversial behavior, all of which have collided into one massive viral moment. Let's set the stage. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni starred together in It Ends With Us, an adaptation of Colleen Hoover's novel dealing with domestic violence. Baldoni also directed the film. You'd think with such a serious subject matter, everyone would be on their best behavior. But according to court documents, the reality was the complete opposite. In December 2024, Blake filed a bombshell lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, accusing him of sexual harassment and orchestrating a smear campaign to destroy her reputation. The lawsuit claimed that Baldoni created a hostile work environment with inappropriate and sexually charged behavior. Specifically, Blake alleged that Justin had improvised a kissing scene without an intimacy coordinator, dragged his lips down her neck during filming, barged in while she was breastfeeding, and even pressured her to lose weight. Like, seriously, in what world is this behavior okay? But wait, there's even more to the story. In January 2025, Justin didn't just deny the allegations. He clapped back hard, filing a $400 million countersuit against Blake and Ryan Reynolds, accusing them of defamation and extortion. Baldoni claimed that Blake's accusations were entirely fabricated as part of a calculated move to take control of the film's production. He even alleged that Blake was attempting to bury any negative publicity regarding her own behavior. But here's where it gets really juicy. According to Baldoni's lawsuit, Ryan Reynolds allegedly ripped into him during a meeting, and Blake referred to Ryan and another celebrity mega-friend whom many believe to be Taylor Swift as her dragons, who would spit fire at her command. I mean, who talks like this outside of a Game of Thrones fanfiction? The lawsuit also claimed Blake wrote about her dragons in a way that seemed almost too dramatic for real life. Annoying to have a director who's always the best. Dressed on set, Blake wrote. Yeah, we were in a muddy field, and that was the only time I saw him in what was a very crisp denim. A very dark, crisp denim with a rolled cuff. But here's the kicker. Blake literally wrote, like her, I happen to have a few dragons for better or worse, but usually for better, because my dragons also protect those I fight for. I mean, really, Blake. Referring to Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift as your dragons? Ready to strike when you say so? Is she channeling the mother of dragons from Game of Thrones? This isn't Westeros, honey. In Game of Thrones, Khaleesi ultimately gets taken down by Jon Snow, who's sporting a man bun, just like Justin Baldoni. Blake's text message about her dragons unintentionally predicted her own downfall in this legal battle. And just when you think it can't get any crazier, it does. Baldoni also filed a separate $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, claiming the newspaper supported Blake's narrative by publishing an article filled with inaccuracies. Following the article's release, Baldoni was dropped by his talent agency, WME, which, surprise, also represents Blake and Ryan. What a coincidence, right? But what's even more interesting is the drastic shift in public perception of Blake throughout this entire ordeal. Once America's darling from Gossip Girl, Blake is now facing major backlash as more and more of her questionable behavior comes to light. For instance, during the promotion of It Ends With Us, a film about domestic violence, Blake encouraged fans to wear florals, grab their girlfriends, and go see the movie, making it sound like 27 dresses instead of a serious film about abuse. She even took the press tour as an opportunity to promote her own brands, Blake Brown Hair Care and Betty Buzz Beverages. Meanwhile, Justin was out there, fully focused on the film's important themes of gender-based violence. The contrast couldn't have been starker. And don't even get me started on her jokes. When she made that comment, she pointed to Leighton to highlight that she was talking about her. This is wild because she also made similar jokes about her co-stars, calling them monkeys during that same press tour. Blake even compared her co-star Leighton Meester to a monkey, saying Leighton started her life in a cage, referring to the fact that Leighton was born while her mother was in prison. Who says that about someone's traumatic past? That's not just shade, that's pure eclipse darkness. And this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Blake's problematic moments. Remember her 2012 wedding to Ryan Reynolds at Boone Hall Plantation in South Carolina, a literal site of slavery? Reynolds later expressed regret, saying, "What we saw at the time was a wedding venue on Pinterest. What we saw after was a place built on devastating tragedy. You couldn't Google the venue before booking? It's called research, Betsy." To make matters worse, Blake's lifestyle website, Preserve, once featured a post titled The Allure of Antebellum, which romanticized the pre-Civil War South without acknowledging its ties to slavery. The site was shut down after a year, but the internet never forgets. As I always say to my clients, don't commit crimes on tape. It's not a crime to do this, but it sure looks suspicious when you're using exactly these tactics against Justin Baldoni. And let's not forget the resurfaced footage of Blake Lively straight up admitting that she manipulates people on movie sets. In the clip, she confesses that she'd show up to auditions pretending to be a simple actress who says her lines and stands on her mark. But once she got the role, she would take over the creative direction of the project. Well, it turns out Blake was caught on tape revealing how she manipulates those around her to seize control of the movies she's involved in. There's so much more to unpack in this wild saga, and it's clear that Blake Lively's public image has taken a serious hit. The question remains, how will she navigate these legal battles and the growing scrutiny around her actions? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. She works. Oops, that turns out to be a bad tactic. She literally says, "I wouldn't." Reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So, I think for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're trying to assert yourself into something that you weren't hired to do. And then, she did exactly that to Justin Baldoni. Talk about telling on yourself. But wait, there's more. Let's dive into how Blake and Ryan present themselves on social media versus what might really be happening behind closed doors. The couple has made a name for themselves with their playful trolling of each other online. You know the type. Ryan posts unflattering photos of Blake for her birthday. Blake crops Ryan out of photos and focuses on other celebrities instead. It all looks very couple goals on the surface, but some are starting to wonder if this constant trolling is actually a cover for deeper issues. Candace Owens discussed this on her podcast, mentioning long-standing rumors about Reynolds, and those rumors might not be so far-fetched after all. She even speculated that Reynolds' supposed emotional struggles could stem from denying his truth, portraying him as a vicious person who's lashing out. Now, I'm not saying I agree with Candace Owens on literally anything ever, but it does make you question what's really going on with Hollywood's so-called perfect couple. Even more telling, Ryan and Blake made a cameo at the SNL 50th anniversary special where Ryan alluded to their legal drama. The fact that they're willing to joke about such serious allegations on national television says a lot about how they're handling this whole situation. It's like it's all just one big joke. To them, Blake's mean girl reputation exposed. Now, let's go deeper into Blake's alleged mean girl behavior that's been lurking beneath her perfectly curated public image. Strap in, because the tea is about to overflow. Let's be real, Blake Lively has always portrayed herself as America's golden girl, the talented actress with the perfect hair, perfect husband, perfect family, and perfect life. But, as we're learning, that perfect image might be nothing more than smoke and mirrors. Behind that million-dollar smile could be someone who's earned a reputation for being, well, not so nice. Let's start with this absolutely wild revelation from the It Ends With Us set. According to the lawsuit, Blake strongly suggested that Justin Baldoni get a rhinoplasty to fix his nose. Yes, you heard that right. She told her director and co-star that he should get a nose job. And the best part? She didn't know her comment was caught on camera because Justin's mic was on during their conversation. Imagine having the nerve to tell someone they need to change their appearance when you're supposed to be working together professionally. It's giving Major Regina George vibes. But wait, it gets worse. According to the lawsuit, Blake was deeply offended when Justin asked about her weight because he needed to know if it was safe to lift her due to his back injury. He was literally asking for medical reasons, but she turned it into a whole issue about her weight. Meanwhile, she had no issue telling him to get plastic surgery. Make it make sense. And then there's Blake's interaction with Jaime Heath, a producer on It Ends With Us, who's also the CEO of Wayfair Studios and Justin's best friend. Reports claim that Blake asked Jaime and other executives to meet in her trailer. When Jaime knocked and entered, finding Blake removing makeup from her collarbone while breastfeeding. Jaime asked if he should return later, but Blake insisted they proceed with the meeting. 2 weeks later, Blake confronted Jaime, claiming she had seen him make eye contact with her during the meeting. Jaime immediately apologized, stating he hadn't realized he looked her way. Blake responded, "I know you weren't trying to cop a look." What? First of all, she invited him into her trailer, told him to stay for the meeting, and then later accused him of inappropriate eye contact. And did I mention Jaime is a black man? This whole interaction is giving major racist vibes, especially considering Blake's past with her plantation wedding and her comments about fashionable items from the slavery era. Big yikes. And speaking of Blake trying to control things, let's revisit that damning video where she literally admits to manipulating people on set. In the clip, she says, "I would show up on a set. I knew that they just wanted me to show up, look cute, and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say." But she continues, "I also knew that wasn't fulfilling for me. I wanted to be part of the storytelling. I wanted to be part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, or in creating the character." She then goes on to say, "Yet when I went into the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled." So, I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do. Sweetie, that's called lying and manipulation. You're literally admitting to pretending. To be one thing to get hired and then completely changing once you're on set. Then, you did the exact same thing to Justin Baldoni. The audacity is actually breathtaking. First of all, let me point out to Blake Lively, you are an actress. Unless you signed on as a producer or a director, there's literally no reason why your creative input should matter. You're an actor. If you want to write your own script, you should go write your own script. If you want to sign on to a movie with the understanding that you are going to make script changes, then great. But if you didn't, don't go trying to take creative control when it's not your place. And he's absolutely right. If Blake wanted creative control, she should have been upfront about it from the beginning. Instead, she apparently tried to take power on set, compromising Justin's vision for the film. No wonder the crew is speaking out against her. In fact, a storyboard artist named Talia Spencer supported Baldoni, stating that Blake smelled his kindness, mistook it for weakness, and tried to take advantage. Ouch. That's not exactly a glowing character reference, is it? But Blake's alleged mean girl behavior doesn't stop at the "It Ends With Us" set. Let's talk about some of her past interviews and interactions that are now coming back to haunt her. For example, there was a 2016 interview with journalist Kirsty Flaw that later went viral under the title "The Blake Lively Interview That Made Me Want to Quit My Job." In the interview, Flaw congratulated Blake on her pregnancy bump, and Blake responded irritably, avoiding eye contact. It was so uncomfortable that the journalist later said it made her want to quit her job. That's how bad it was. Then there's the time Blake told fans to quiet down on a red carpet. And when a fan gave her a beaded bracelet, she said, "I'm going to put it here because it doesn't go with my isn't quite as perfect as their feed suggests. It's the kind of reveal that makes you question everything you thought you knew about them." And in Blake's case, the more these stories come to light, the harder it is to ignore the growing cracks in her carefully constructed image. From her treatment of co-stars like Leighton Meester to the manipulation of Justin Baldoni, it's clear that Blake has a lot of explaining to do. But let's circle back to her behavior during the "It Ends With Us" production. According to reports, Blake not only refused to meet with the No More organization, but she also made sure her own businesses were front and center during the promotion of the film, by naming one of her drinks after a character who was a domestic abuser. She showed how little she truly respected the very themes the movie was supposed to address. Imagine doing something like that, using the pain of others to sell your products. Talk about tone deaf. And let's not forget about how Blake and Ryan allegedly served Justin legal papers during the Los Angeles wildfires. While Justin and his family were preparing for evacuation and dealing with a real crisis, Blake's team tracked him down to serve him papers. Not only is that callous, but it also shows just how far they were willing to go to put pressure on him during an already stressful time. And the whole ordeal didn't stop there. Blake and Ryan allegedly pressured Justin into defending her publicly by writing a statement for him to read. It's like they were trying to manipulate the narrative in a way that suited them, regardless of the consequences for Justin. For those who might try to defend Blake, arguing that these actions are being exaggerated or misrepresented, it's hard to ignore the consistent pattern of entitled behavior. The fact that so many different incidents align paints a concerning picture of someone who may be more interested in controlling situations than being genuine. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, it's tough to deny that the balance of power in Hollywood is often tilted in favor of those with the right connections, but that doesn't mean they can get away with everything. Now, let's address the ongoing legal battle. Blake and her team continue to deny the allegations, and the trial won't be until March 9, 2026, meaning we've got a while before there's any resolution. But the longer this plays out in the public eye, the more questions will arise. If Blake's reputation was once built on being the charming, all-American sweetheart, it's clear that image is starting to crumble under the weight of all these accusations. Whether or not the legal system agrees with the public's perception remains to be seen, but it's hard to ignore the growing pile of evidence suggesting that Blake Lively's perfect life may be anything but any of these allegations yet, but his silence speaks volumes. The more this drama unfolds, the more it seems like there's a lot more going on beneath the surface than either Ryan or Blake are letting on. While they may appear as the picture-perfect couple with a flawless relationship, the cracks in that carefully crafted image are starting to show, and it's hard not to wonder what's really happening behind closed doors. Ryan's alleged involvement in the drama surrounding It Ends With Us paints him as someone far from the harmless, charming guy we see on screen. From the reported pressure he put on WME to drop Justin Baldon, to allegedly participating in intimidation tactics, it seems like Ryan might have been more involved than just standing by his wife. These actions seem to reveal a more calculating side of Ryan, one that's more interested in maintaining control and protecting his image than keeping things light and fun, as we've been led to believe. And then there's the whole Nice Pool character in Deadpool, which definitely raises some eyebrows. The fact that a character who bears a striking resemblance to Justin Baldoni, talks like him, and is portrayed as a performatively nice guy who gets killed off is hard to ignore. While it may have been just a joke or a coincidence, it feels awfully personal given the timing of the ongoing drama. It's almost as if Ryan used his platform to get back at someone he was feuding with, under the guise of humor. But what about Ryan's public persona? His social media trolling with Blake is certainly amusing to many, but it might also be a strategic move to distract from more serious issues. These posts are carefully timed and meticulously crafted to present the couple as funny, relatable, and endearing. However, given the context of the ongoing drama, it's starting to look less like a spontaneous show of affection and more like a well-executed PR strategy designed to keep their image in the public's favor, even as the truth about their behind-the-scenes behavior continues to unravel. So, while we may have once seen Ryan as the nice guy with a self-deprecating sense of humor, it's clear that there's more complexity to his character than what we're used to seeing. The cracks in the facade are becoming more apparent, and as this story develops, it'll be interesting to see how Ryan and Blake handle the fallout, because the more we learn, the less convincing their perfect relationship appears. This latest segment really digs into why people are so fascinated by Blake and Ryan's relationship and why their public image matters so much. The fascination with their perfect marriage is rooted in the contrast between what they've carefully curated and the dark undercurrents that are beginning to emerge. The idea that this golden couple might not be as perfect as they seem shatters the illusion for many, making people reevaluate the narratives they've been fed about the ideal Hollywood couple. The mention of Ryan joking about Blake's rage spiral from their old interview adds an intriguing layer to this. Was it just a joke? Or does it give us a glimpse into a side of Blake's personality that hasn't been shown to the public? It's an odd thing to laugh about in an interview, especially if it's based on real behavior, and it raises questions about the dynamics between them. What's also striking is the way Blake and Ryan have set themselves up as the epitome of relationship goals. Their social media banter, career successes, and family life all seem perfectly aligned with what many would consider the ideal modern marriage. However, as the allegations pile up, that seemingly perfect image is starting to look increasingly fragile, as if it was built on shaky foundations. The issue isn't just that they might have their personal problems. Every couple does. It's the stark hypocrisy of presenting an idealized version of themselves while allegedly using their power to bully others in the industry. The potential impact on someone else's career, especially over something as trivial as a professional disagreement, feels far more sinister than just a couple having typical relationship struggles. So, while Blake and Ryan might not be the perfect couple they've shown the world, the real problem lies in the perceived betrayal of that image. When their personal conflicts appear to be overshadowing the needs and well-being of others, it raises serious ethical concerns about their behavior behind closed doors.